What's up, everybody? Blacktop Smack Talk here. I'm your host, Adam Jose. Welcome. Our first video on YouTube. I cannot tell you guys enough how excited I am today. This has been weeks in the making. I have 4 close friends of mine who are coaches in the game right now. So today what we're going to do is we're doing a coaches podcast. Not a podcast, coaches like roundtable, so to speak. I got coaches from the pro level, the D1 level, AAU, CC, and the high school level. We're just basically gonna talk about the coaching life. So without further ado, we're live here, Bellevue College. Thanks, Coach Brady. We're here at Bellevue College. Shout out to my man Pat on the camera, visualized. Go follow him on Instagram. But without further ado, we'll just go around, introduce yourselves. So we'll start off with.
How you doing? I'm Sam Kirby, assistant coach at Seattle University. Just started first year at Seattle U. Played there with this guy here, so it's a good segue. Ryan Webb.
Appreciate that, man. I'm Ryan Webb, assistant coach with the Seattle Storm. This is my 4th full year, but like 10th year with the organization. So.
Brady, I'm the head coach here at Bellevue College, and then I also coach Friends of Hoop, the top 17U team.
Anthony Zabala, coach at O'Day High School. I'm the JV head coach, and then I help out with the varsity as well.
All right, so gentlemen, I know it's late. I know we all got curfews and bedtimes with our significant others, but so I'll try to make this as quick as possible, but it's going to be good. So first I want to, say thank you to all of you guys coming out here. So coaching. So let's just get right to it. Being former players, you guys all play basketball in your day. How's the transition from coaching or from playing to coaching? How has that been? And when did you realize, like in your playing career, that coaching is something I want to do? I know it's not easy because, me personally, when I was coaching for 8 years at Shoreline, I was like, man, I know I can lace them up still. I know I can get buckets on these guys. These guys play no defense. Who needs a guard that can, pass the ball, hit a shot or two? But, it's just, my mind is like, my heart is there, but my mind's like, nah, man, you're good. You'll get ran off the court, So talk to me about the transition because, I know it's, different for everybody. So, fill me in. Doug, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I realized it kind of like at an early age. I want to say around high school where, I kind of understood the game a little bit differently than some of my teammates.
Right.
And that kind of transitioned into like natural conversations with the coach at the time. And those types of situations carried over into college as well. And then obviously being a point guard, you know what I'm saying? You guys all understand that. Point guard, you're the one that has to know everything, really.
Right.
Natural leader. It's sort of how my situation came about. And then I think post-college for me, it was a fear of not knowing what the hell to do in life. Right. And it was like, okay, well, let me stay around this game as long as I can.
Right.
Like you were just saying, like I was holding on to playing and the idea of playing, but I was still around the game and naturally, going back to my high school and talking to the current high school players and whatnot.
Right.
It was kind of that transition that kind of made it happen for me.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was, so when I was done playing, I had no idea what I wanted to do, like literally no clue.
Right.
And there's coaches, that were around me, that were like, okay, maybe you should think about coaching, and I'm like, I don't know if it's for me,
Right.
because it's just, I just seen all the stuff that they have to do, and I'm just like, I don't know. Fortunately, there was a coach that left Seattle U and went over to community college, and he brought me with him. So, and that's where we met my guy here, Anthony, and went from not knowing to, man, I love this. And where the love came was just helping, the next guy out. Like, I'd see this kid was just like me. Man, in the game that I figured out, and that I'm, the knowledge that I'm, that I got now from playing, and getting from all these coaches, these different coaches, and just watching it over years, I can just give it to these guys.
Right.
And there's no better feeling for me to give that knowledge to somebody else and watch them grow. That's why I do it, and that's why I love it. So.
I think it's funny, the point guard thing, man. 'Cause, like, how many of us were point guards?
Yeah.
You're a point guard. You're
You
my
know?
combo guard with me.
Yeah. So, I mean, just like, I didn't have the choice. Like, my dad was my high school coach. My dad was a coach for 30 years. Like, I was going to coach. I had no other option. And, like, I don't even think when I went to school, like, I played D3, I knew right away, like, it wasn't going to keep continuing. Like, D3 was it. Like, I was done playing basketball after that. And I really think, like, I kind of, like, reserved myself. Like, I was majoring in history. Like, I wasn't trying to do anything with a history degree. Like, I was trying to be a basketball coach the entire time. Like, that's all I was doing. And so that transition, the weirdest part of it for me was I stayed at my alma mater. So I was, I graduated, and then the next year I'm coaching guys who, I played with the year before. And that was weird, But in terms of becoming a coach, like, shit, I had no option. Like, I had to be. I had to be the coach. I had to do that. That's what I was going to do. I mean, that was just how it was. And once I got used to coaching my teammates, and, you kind of already do that as a point guard or as a captain or whatever. You're already doing that. But still, it's definitely a change going from wearing the uniform and, like, wearing a suit all of a sudden and talking to a dude who's a year younger than you, telling him what he's supposed to be doing, like going to class and all this. It was weird. But, but man, I'm the same way. I've done nothing else. Like, since I graduated college, I've been a basketball coach. It's the only job I've had. I've had other jobs so I could do that, but, but I've only been a basketball coach.
But in your mind, your main job
It's always been basketball. I might get paid the least for that job.
Right, exactly.
But that's been my main job.
I remember times calling into the job that was actually bringing in me the more money to be like, yo, I can't come in today. I'm going to go coach.
Yeah, coach. Well, it's like if anybody asks you what your job is, I'm a basketball coach. But, like, really, I'm the events coordinator for the athletic department. Like, that's what I'm really doing. Like, that's what I make.
A basketball coach just sounds so much better.
Yeah.
Because I put like, I was like, being an educator, I'm like, I'm a teacher. But then first I'd be like, nah, I'm an assistant coach for college basketball. I'm a college basketball coach. And they're like, dang, for real? And I'm like, yeah, but wait till you see that paycheck, man.
Right.
Shoreline paycheck.
You won't be so excited.
My bank account, I am a teacher.
You won't be so excited about that afterwards.
Right.
So, man, what about you?
For me, I guess it's different because I didn't get to play at that high level. My organized basketball career kind of ended mid-high school because, how do you compete with a Mitch Johnson, Jamel McMillan? You're not going to play when Coach Lumpkin's only playing 6 dudes. So I kind of pieced together, I'm just going to go this way and, just played in a bunch of men's leagues and whatnot. And I guess I kind of just fell into it because I just wanted to be around the game and be at that high level. And so that's where, I ended up at Shoreline with Sam. So I met Sam. And just went with it. And, just kind of learned. I just wanted to be able to coach, since I didn't get to play at that high level, at least compete somehow at that level. And that's where I thought coaching was going to come fulfill that for me. So that's how I kind of just fell into it.
And that was your first year coaching, right?
Yep, first year.
So that was my first year too. So we worked for, I thought, one of the greatest guys, Butch Estes, who's now at Barry University in Miami, big Division II school that they were really, really good. And the system that we got into was North Carolina. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he played for Dean Smith. So watching him go about his day of work, going about his day of how to talk to kids, how to recruit kids, how to strategize and how to beat somebody else I just was like, man, this is cool, this is fun. You know what I mean? It's obviously different than preparing for a basketball game where I got to get my shots up, I got to get my free throws in, to now thinking more on another level of like, okay, how we gonna knock these guys off? And that's when I was like, okay, this is fun. This is really fun.
Definitely, yeah. It's definitely interesting seeing how your guys' process, how you guys all just evolved to where you are today. You think back, where did it all begin? And that kind of ties into my next question, because all of you guys are or were assistant coaches, and so there's a two-part question I'm going to ask. So the first one is, I was an assistant coach for 8 years, 3 under him. So I know, I could probably answer part of this question too. So what is the hardest part about being an assistant? Because there are times when it's tough. It's very tough, as some of you guys are assistants right now, or as you guys are trying to move up to to the next step in your career. What's the hardest part about being an assistant? You're an assistant under one of the most legendary high school coaches ever. Like, explain that. How hard is that? And you don't have to spill the beans on about the curve, but it's like but it's like we all kind of since we've all been there.
Actually, tell us something we don't know about them. What do you got?
What's funny though is about that being, I think that question it's funny because I think Estes prepared me for Kirk, because I thought me and Sam talked about it, about his antics on the sidelines, and one game he got so pissed off he threw a whole cup of water over my head, but the water got all over me, and Sam just kind of hands me a towel, just to wipe. It was fun. That was funny, but it's hard to say just because I feel like their personalities are so they're so alike. But I think one of the hardest things is, pretty much just not catching him on a bad day. Just not fucking up something on the scout, or making sure you know what you're doing that specific day, because their attention to detail is
right.
It's so precise.
What Anthony just said about working for your head coach, on your day job, because you're just always, I think the hardest part is you have to always be available for him, but then you always have to be available for your guys too. And so your hours, I think, as an assistant coach, and what you have to balance between keeping stuff off of your head coach's plate and trying to judge, is this something that I have to bring to him? Especially at the CC level, I think the number of times I've had to make that decision, is this something that he needs to know about? Is this a problem that's got to go all the way to him?
That's how I felt coaching under you.
Yeah, sure. And I'm sure you kept most of them away from me, and I appreciate it, because I didn't want to know.
I had to Band-Aid a lot of shit.
And that's, I think that's the job, when you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-old community college kids.
Young males at that.
Yeah, and they're just all over the place, and love them. That's why, this level's fun for that reason, because it is so, every day is a new day. It's wild every single day. Something comes up every single day, but handling that stuff, I think, was the hardest part. The basketball stuff, in a way, it kind of takes care of itself, because that's what you're trying to do, but it's more almost trying to keep those guys in line and keep the feeling of that roster and that group and that team, right? I think that was the hardest part. That's the part I spent the most time on. The basketball stuff, I'll sit down and do scout all day, but then I had my first year, I had a dude call me on Thanksgiving at 3 a.m. because he's worried about the first game that we're going to play in the Pierce Thanksgiving tournament.
Yeah.
And I had to talk to him for an hour.
Yeah.
And that stuff was the hardest. My wife never understood that.
Right.
That's the part that's never
Jake from
understood.
Allstate.
And now I'm a head coach, and I told Webb, it's 9 o'clock. I'm in bed most nights at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
High school season, I'm out watching a game maybe on a Tuesday night, but I'd be in bed already.
Right.
Because I'm the head coach. I don't have to worry about these guys anymore past 9 o'clock anymore. That's on somebody else. Tone's got to answer those phone calls.
Yeah.
I don't got to do that.
Yeah, I handed that job
Yeah,
over
exactly.
to him, man. I'm good.
Really, it's similar. It's you're in this position where you're kind of like the culture gatekeeper, right? Where the coach, you have this culture that, as coaches, you are giving to the team, to support staff and everything, right? And you have to pick and choose what goes to the coach and you have to pick and choose how to communicate certain things to the players. And for me, a hard part is knowing when a player is about to get cut or traded.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then having to go out and still coach them or have those tough conversations. But it's you're kind of managing down and up, you know, and we're kind of like that glue, and that can be really tough. You know, I think also for me, some of the things that I struggle with is when I know there's about to be a play that works, or you give 1,000 suggestions in a season, and maybe it's used once or twice. You know what I mean? And so you're sitting there like, okay, well, you go to my house right now, I still have a notebook full of everything that I've ever written. You know what I'm saying? And I can probably point to maybe one page where it was actually used.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those are some of the things, you know, that
And yet
make
you
it hard.
still have to come out every day and have all those suggestions ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have to be confident enough and comfortable enough to still keep bringing it.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing you can do is then stop.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know.
So our old head coach, Jenny Busek, I mean, absolutely incredible X and O's. Incredible. I mean, she's now in the NBA. She was with the Kings, and now she's with the Mavs now. But if you didn't come correct, she would challenge you, and if you couldn't answer the whys for everything, she'd call it out like that, and then you just sit there like, oh, shit. All right. Yeah, no, just, I like what you had going in the first place. You know what I mean? You know, so.
I think, well, I'm in a situation right now where I'm transitioning to a new guy who I'm working for. Last year, last 7 years, I was with a coach that I played for. So I mean, you had times where, okay, I didn't know this side about, coach and all that, but, you still kind of knew who he was because of how he coached me, us, at Seattle U. So going from that to going to a completely different guy, and I'm talking about polar opposites, and learning how he wants things to be done, And I'm almost 5 months in, and every day is new. Everything is different. So for me, it's just learning the system. Like, he's very systematic. You know what I mean? And I love it. You know what I mean? It's just trying to, for me, just trying to get to how things are done, how he wants, me to communicate to the players and all that.
So that you'll feel confident in your coaching ability.
Yeah.
Under this system, yeah.
Right. So it's been good. It's been really good, but just that whole transition period, like, the guys, the other coaches, they've all been head coaches before. We got Nick Robinson, he's coach at Southern Utah. D1 head coach. And then we got Chris Victor, who's our associate head coach. He was, at the JUCO level, head coach for I think 6 years. They went to the championship. His teams were really good. So I'm the only one on staff that hasn't been the head coach. So I'm just like, okay, I'm learning off these guys.
Right.
How they work and where can I fit in and make my point here and there in practice or make my suggestion here and there, because these dudes, they're legit. I'm with a great staff. You know what I mean? So I'm just learning as much as possible.
I think that's the hard part too, is like knowing when not to say something.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, like I led my first year up here with Eggers. It was Eggers and Brian Brown, and Brian had been there for a few years with them. But other than that, they had 2 assistants prior to that too. So they had 4 coaches the year before, then just us 3. And I remember specifically in practice just knowing, like, at the end of practice, like, if Eggers said something and Brown said something and they went for a while, I don't need to say anything. Like,
Right.
They don't need to hear anything from me. It's over. Like, it's just,
Right.
we've had enough voices, like, but at the same time, that transition of that was my first year coaching for him and trying to learn, like, I remember he came up to me maybe like the second or third practice, like, you could say something to these guys, right? Like, I was just trying to, like, wade in and make sure everything, but
Right.
I hadn't said anything for 2 days. I didn't even realize it.
Right.
It's weird.
I know one of the challenges I have is like, what the hell am I going to say to Sue Bird? What the hell am I going to say to her? She comes out of games, and you guys remember when LeBron, like, someone asked him, like, yeah, so what happened at the beginning of the fourth? And he, like, said she comes out of the game and does that all the time.
Right. Yeah.
She'll describe the last 5 to 10 minutes of her minutes. and we did this, and then we did that, and I don't know why we don't do this, and how come we haven't run this yet? Remember we talked about this, and I'm sitting there like, was that in our scout? Yeah, it was. I don't even know why I'm looking this up. It is in the scout. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what can you really say to a Sue Bird? Or what can you really, Stewie's a little bit different, but she's the MVP, so how do you coach that? You really don't. You just, for me, it's like with Birdie, it's all reminders. Hey, remember we got this, or remember you can go to that. Remember just get a little bit legs, because tell her she's not using her legs, she'll look at you like, duh, motherfucker, I know I'm not using my legs, that's why I'm missing. You know what I'm saying? Like, duh, you don't want to, so that's also challenging too, when she's arguably, probably top 10 basketball player to play the game. You look at all her accomplishments, and I'm giving her some hub right now. That's hard to coach that,
Right.
So.
I think just to, being assistant for 8 years, I coached under two, some really solid coaches. Brady obviously he's been phenomenal in my progression as a coach. And, I coached under Coach Turcotte, who was great too. I think for me, the hardest thing is like being at the CC level is like, when we go out and recruit, I was like, shit, I want to give this guy money. But then I always have to tie it back, and then he has to look at him and be like, I don't know. And so that's the hard thing. It's like, if we're not on the same page, and I feel like, man, I think this kid's worth money. We're 65% of scholarship.
Yeah, you're not actually handing money out.
Right, yeah. No.
The year disclaimer. He's the year we won all legal practices. All legal practices.
Yes. We do not do that here at BTST.
Right.
I do not promote that. Anyways, but no, just giving them scholarship money, I think that was hard being. And then another tough part was just when the guys were like, man, can you talk to coach about my playing time? I've been in the gym, man. Man, I know I'm the best player on the team. I've had hundreds of those conversations. Mm-hmm. I've had thousands of texts, kind of similar to what Coach was saying like, oh man, guys calling you 3 o'clock in the morning. I've had guys call me all hours of the night, also text me in all hours. So that's a hard part. And then, I tell him a little bit here and there, and he's just like, no, fuck that. It's pretty much, he's just like, fuck that.
That's about right.
Fuck that.
Sounds
Then
about
you
right.
fucking earn it. And most of the time, 9.5 times out of 10, I'm on coach's side because, and I try to convey a message which will help them kind of understand, like, this is what you guys need to do, but we're not doing this. Just take my word for it.
Right.
You know what
It's
I'm saying?
like establishing that boundary, right, where you will allow yourself to be that ear, but they also have to understand that you are coach.
Right.
And you are riding with the head coach. Because as soon as they can, and you see it a lot in my sport, they'll try to pull you away to be on their side against the head coach.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They'll try their damnedest.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like establishing that boundary. Like, I'm going to listen to you, but as soon as it goes against what we're about and goes really like individual, I'm going to have to steer you back into what we're about.
You said a culture, what'd you say?
Culture gatekeeper?
Gatekeeper.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal that. By the way. Like use that on some
I've
recruits.
learned a few things, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
No, that's exactly what it is, man. Because it happens on our level too. Like, man, coach, man. No, this is how it's going to be. This is the way the head coach wants it. So this is what is,
Right.
like he's my boss too. At the end of the day,
Right.
Yeah, that's
We all
true.
in this together.
What you think? Is going to happen?
And I think just because, we're dealing with, we're dealing with young people who think they know everything about the game. I'm sure your guys on the varsity and JV level think like, oh yeah, I'm going D. Everyone thinks they're going D1, right? And so they're just like, well, man, that up coach ain't playing me, man. Why is Coach Kerr not playing me? So I'm sure it's kind of like the same thing. We have guys thinking they're going D1 too, at the CC level. And we have got, and you probably have guys who are like, I'm overseas or to the league, easy. So why is Coach fucking with my minutes and stuff like that? And you probably have players that are like, well, why is Coach getting me out of my money because I know I'm a max, I'm a max type player.
Yeah.
And so that's
As soon as you get the agent text, it's like, oh, no, You just drop your phone right there like, nope, I'm not dealing with this. No way. No way.
so that's just, man, it's just kind of life of an assistant. We all been there, so it's just. So moving on with that, but the second part of my question, we had a nice little combo right there. Is what is the hardest part about coaching? I know there's so many things. We've all coached at a level. Whatever the level may be. There's a lot that goes into coaching, a lot of it, and and you guys are some really bright basketball minds, and you guys have all been successful. I'm going over your stuff. I'm like, dang. 38-2 at the JV and Frosh level, that's pretty fucking impressive. Going to state, winning a fucking championship. Curb, you won. You got league titles, 20-6, and at was it Canada College? Kenyatta, my bad.
Yeah.
You went to the tourney. Coach, I was on your staff. We won the league title, Shoreline 2016-17 season. Shout out to that team. So, and you've been the coach of the year. So, talk to me. What is the hardest part about coaching? Or if it's too vague of a question, what's one thing that just like it gets tough?
I think at my level, it's having to do with the parent side of it. And I think
yeah.
level
Well, I was
as
gonna say
well.
the AAU level for sure. It's the parents, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part of it because you are with this kid, every day, this player. You know what your strengths and weaknesses are as a team and whatnot, and maybe he's got some things he needs to work on. He's just not quite there yet. But then, now he's telling dad at home what's going on, and now dad's telling him, well, you need to go talk to him and blah blah blah. And you get to the game, he doesn't play, and then you walk out post game, and dad's waiting right there for you. That's the worst. And I think that's probably the hardest, especially with the type of kid that we are coaching now, where like you said, every kid thinks they're D1, every kid thinks they're going to the league or going to play pro somewhere, make some money. So I think when you have a parent like that who's not just going to let their child just kind of learn and be coached, is that can hinder a child a lot, and which ends up leading to kids transferring and going to programs where you're going to play, but you're going to be on a shitty ass team, but like that's the kind of stuff that at least I've dealt with in the past 2-3 years. But yeah, I'd just say just parents just being the toughest part of, at least at my level.
Yeah, the AAU stuff, the parents, it's not just parents worried about playing time and all that, but now, especially it's going to get even weirder now, but like it used to be, you got 2 weeks in April, 3 weeks in July for these kids to get seen by D1 coaches. And I'm coaching a team where all 8 guys are supposed to go D1. There might be one D1 guy on the team, right? But those 3 weeks, like watching them, the difference in the way they play if their dad's there or if their dad's not there. Oh, yeah. And that would break my heart. Like if dad's not there, the kid's killing. He's playing free. He's doing everything he's supposed to do. Coaches are excited on the baseline, all that. Next weekend, dad shows up. He doesn't hit a 3 for 2 weeks.
Intense.
We go to LA and Vegas, doesn't hit a 3 for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden you're going from maybe a D1 to we got D3s. Like, is that hopefully that'll work for you? You're high academic. Let's do it. That was hard. Like that to me, watching kids kind of freak out a little bit under the pressure of July. And you probably see it just sitting up in the stands watching these kids. Like, July's been wild to me since I've got back into AAU coaching and coaching that team. Like, it's just the way, and it's gonna get harder. And they're only going to have 2 weekends now to try to prove themselves. These kids aren't going to get seen,
That's right.
And the pressure on those kids is just, it's like they've lost just trying to go out there and hoop. They're just trying to play for scholarships, and it's not as fun. Community college level, the hardest part is honestly keeping a team together.
That's facts.
From what you sign in April to what's playing and shows up to school in September to what's still playing in January.
After first quarter.
And
Shit,
just-
you guys know that too.
Yeah. I mean, just trying to mesh that. Like, I mean, even the roster I have right now, that's tough. It's tough, and it's hard to, I think make some kids understand that, however hard you might have worked, I might sign a kid in August that is a lot better than you and wasn't here all summer, but if he shows up to school the first day, like, he's starting and he's playing the rest of the year, and it doesn't matter how much time you put in, unfortunately, because it's college basketball now.
Right.
Yeah, and I played JUCO too, so
Yeah.
I've seen it from that side too.
yeah.
Like, dudes are flocking in and out. Like, man, this is crazy.
Oh, no.
So, I think the one of the hardest things, like, obviously coaching it's not like an instant gratification type deal. So it's a progress, trust the process, it's a process for real. The other two things I want to touch on is recruiting is just ridiculous. So hard.
Oh my God.
It's so hard.
It's like,
So hard, man.
Look, I'm not even in it. I'm
know,
feeling
yeah.
for all you guys. I'm like, yeah, man, recruiting.
it's hard. It's hard. And if you don't have the right relationships, if you don't have the right reputation, too, like, if dudes don't know you,
Yeah.
forget about it. You're not getting that kid. That's just the name of the game. You're not getting them. And then with that is like, now I have a family. I got a little son, and a wife. I'm gone 4 or 5 days just on a recruiting trip. I'm like, he's crying because daddy's not there.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, this sucks.
And
You know what I mean? But hey, I gotta pay the bills. I gotta,
Yeah, but you put in, and then I think, like, you think about all the kids that you build those relationships with that you don't get in the end too,
for sure.
and like how much time you spend
That's
on
that's
kids,
frustrating.
and not that that's like a terrible thing, but you end up getting so close to some of these kids that you lose,
Yeah.
and it's like every year, like that was the hardest part for me, was just getting over the disappointment that, like, not to take it personally that somebody chose somewhere else. Like, it took me a long time to get used to
You
that.
taught me that one. You taught me
it's
that, not
like-
to take it personal.
And I still, I still can't say that every time, but I try not to, but man.
No, for sure. I still have relationships with kids that I've recruited that
That's-
didn't get.
yeah, yeah,
You know what
for
I mean?
sure.
And they're at other schools, and if their birthday comes up, happy birthday,
Yeah.
man, proud of you. If they're all, if they're done and they're overseas, hey, good job, man. I see you doing your thing. I still do that because, we developed this relationship that I've been recruiting this kid since he was a sophomore in high school. I watched him grow, to this young man.
And I'm sure, like, some of those kids got little brothers
For sure.
that be coming up that you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you keep that in the back of your head too, or they might have a homie that, is looking for a place to play, or, whatever. You want that good reputation. Yeah, I think for me, I think I'm fortunate because I get to go 24/7 basketball. You know what I'm saying? And that's like, it's now gotten to the point where it's able to just pay me, and I'm good with that. You know what I'm saying? But like yourself, I don't have to deal with all the parents and the recruiting and everything. So I'm like,
Now you got
I got the agents. You know what I'm saying? But I just brush. But that's actually one of the positives of being an assistant. So I just say, go talk to the head coach and the GM. But I'm just going to piggyback on what Curb said about just the time commitment and the family and the travel. You know what I'm saying? Like with my son too, and with my season, he's out of school and I'm gone. So like now I'm home now and he's, in school. So I give him a couple hours at night and then, he's in school. So then when he's out of school, that's when I'm gone. So that's kind of like the toughest thing. But, we're able to do some things where they've come on a few trips and stuff like that with us. But after like a 10, 11-day road trip, you know what I'm saying? And you get that FaceTime, you're like, damn, what am I doing this for? You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's one of the toughest things right there.
I think, just, for me personally, it's kind of piggyback is the family thing. Missing out on a lot of things. That's been tough. Committing a lot of time, and it's initially when you start off with the CC, I didn't get paid. I'm at every practice, pretty much damn near every game. So that was hard initially. And trying to get my wife to be cool with like, I'm gone so much. ain't nothing coming back in return, but you understand like it's the experience for me. And so that part was tough, as there's 3 other CC coaches would know about time commitment from family. And then for me, it's just how because I was big in placement of players. Coach Brady kind of let me spearhead that and trying to convince coaches at the next level that CC, my guys can play. I got hoopers. And and trying to convince those coaches, because CC is not, because there's junior college and there's community college, you know what I mean? So I'm not saying we're bottom of the barrel, but we're not really looked as high. And I've established so many relationships with coaches throughout the years, and they're like, man, we're looking at a JC guy as opposed to wanting a CC guy. And I'm just like, well, shit, if he can play, he can play, fuck what level he's at, so I think that part it was tough for me to swallow, but I know my motherfucking guy is better than the dude you're recruiting. And a lot of the time I come out right, and then coaches hit me up the next year asking me about that same guy. So I think that's just how things kind of come in full circle. But that's just the hard part. It's like, oh, you guys are community college, why are you? That's just the stigma.
Fighting that label.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that we talked about the tough parts about coaching. Now just real quick, I got some more interesting things I kind of want to ask you guys, but real quick, there's a current trend going on in the game of basketball right now, and I've kind of seen your guys' programs and how you guys coach and how things are done. In the new era of basketball, a lot of it's going positionless. There's a lot more spacing in today's game, which means there's minimal use of bigs. I know, and I say that because when we won league championship, our best player played 2, 3, 4, and 5, and he was 6'2", 6'3". Was Dana like 6'3", about 6'3", and just an athletic beast, And so we're doing less bigs. There's not, and what's crazy is, well, I know this is in the NBA, and they want, I know a lot of colleges are preaching this, tempo matters, which also means minimal defense. So I just kind of wanted to get your guys overall thoughts about how the game has changed and from when you guys were all playing, because growing up, I'm always, in my mind, even when I play 2K or something, I always leave 2 bigs in the game. You know what I'm saying? I'm always wanting 2 bigs in the game. I love the 2 bigs.
At both blocks.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Being a 5'9" guard, I love posting up.
That stresses me out thinking about that right now.
Right.
It stresses me out.
No way.
But it's like, shit, I love posting up. Oh, if I can get the ball on the block against a little dude, it's mouse in the house, bucket all day. But it's like, I honestly want to ask you guys real quick, what are you guys' thoughts on how the game has evolved to where it is now and where it's, where you think it's headed? So talk to me.
When I watch, college or high school, I'm like, man, this shit, the spacing is killing me right now. You know what I'm saying? It really stresses me out. But I think it's been such a benefit to the game, not allowing that defense to sit in there. I think the trend right now that I'm seeing in the early season of the NBA is the way they're calling defense. So, and I don't know if it's because they want to see more points. I mean, Golden State just had 92 in the first half. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yes, their offense is really, really good, but my goodness, I think the game is changing. The refs aren't allowing defense to be played on the ball the same way. And I know that was my advantage as a player because I wasn't going to be able to stay in front of the quick guards, so I had to body them. You guarded all the point guards, I went and guarded the threes. You know what I'm saying? And so I think there's, I don't know, I'm predicting, I think there's a change in the way defense is being called right now. But offense, I think it's a thing of beauty, and I'm fortunate because I have the best point guard that's coordinating it all. You know what I'm saying? And she is phenomenal. And so our spacing is, we have the 4 out, kind of 1 in, but our post player is constantly looking to set on balls. So if we're not driving and kicking or whatnot off in an early offense, if we're getting into our half court, we call it, I'm not going to say it, but we're looking to try to get a pick and roll dive, and we're trying to get some defense to suck in. We throw them back to the one-man eye. We're trying to create eyes all over the place. Yeah. And then, there's different phases. And then in the half court, then we can be a little bit more strategic. But, even though we have a post player setting and diving to the rim, occasionally we'll have our 3 set and dive to the rim because they might switch. You know what I'm saying? But the way the spacing is, it allows it to happen. And a lot of times our 5 is hitting 3s now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, we led the league in offense, but that's because of the way the game's going, and we're able to get those players to kind of fit this mold, Right. It's more random. That's kind of the word. Yeah. It's more random. It's not so steady anymore, for us.
And I think that's a pro thing, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more controlled in college basketball, but you also have a better shot clock and defense 3 seconds.
Yes.
We need those 2 rules.
Yeah.
Because college basketball is terrible.
Yeah, right.
College basketball is terrible, and I'm a college basketball coach. I hate it. I can't watch it. I can't watch it because of spacing. Like you said, it gives you anxiety. I can't see that many people in the paint all the time. It's hard. I don't like it. I just can't enjoy it. It doesn't look right to me. We need a 24-second shot clock because college basketball players don't know how to play basketball.
Right.
You learn to play basketball with that faster shot clock. You have to make a decision. You can't hold it. You can't go, you've got to make a decision. The ball's got to move. Something's got to happen. Man, I love where it's going. It's sad that they won't let anybody play defense, but whatever.
Right.
We'll move on.
Right.
It'll be all right.
Yeah.
It'll be all right. More scoring's okay. Faster game's okay.
Right.
I just wish, I wish college basketball would move a little bit quicker. It'll never happen because the coaches that control everything, and that's how it's going to be. And just like their programs are controlled, they're not going to let rules change like that. But if we had a 24-second shot clock and a defensive 3-second rule, college basketball would be so much better.
Right.
It'd be so much better.
I mean, I gotta agree with that too, with the defense, because it's really helped our league. From 60, 70 point games, now we're up in the hundreds. We've seen a big change in the way they're calling defense, and it's, when you're on defense, you're like, that was, how you gonna call that, bro? That wasn't body. But it's like, oh shit, they're at the free throw line, and now our score's 99. It's like, it's better for the game.
And I think in a way too, it makes
girls can score 110 points. Yeah, wow, fucking crazy.
It almost shows you who the better defenders are anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Because now you can't get away with this, chucking somebody.
Right.
It's not really good defense when you think about it, or jumping in front to take a charge or something like that. The circle is a nice thing. I'm glad we finally got something like that. It shows who's actually a legit individual defender who can guard somebody without having to put their hands on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So much better.
I want to go back to your point. We talked about the 2 bigs. Mm-hmm. For me, I look at it as okay, this game is it's just getting more skill. Yeah. The skill level is just I try to watch old school games as much as possible. For example, the stuff that's on ESPN right now, the love of basketball.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for the love of the game.
Yeah, for the love of the game. Yeah. My wife, she doesn't exist right now.
Right.
She's so mad at me.
Right.
Shit, that's me every day of the year.
Right.
But, I look at it, think about the game back then and where it's at now. You got 7-footers that can handle the ball and just cross somebody over and hit a 3. I'm like, this is, for every little guard, it's like, oh man, if I was 6'8", I'll be doing this.
Right.
Well,
they're doing it now.
Right. They're doing it. Oh shit.
It's happening. So I love we're positionless basketball at Seattle U. Yeah. Everybody has to know every position. And the spacing, you talk about the spacing. Well, the spacing is going to happen for us because we got shooters.
Right.
Yeah. So you have to guard us.
Right.
And when you got shooters, what's going to open? Driving lanes. And we got a guy that can post up who's a monster. He's going to get his buckets on the block, whenever he wants.
Can't help off. Yeah.
Can't help off. What are you going to do?
Right.
Pick your poison. So that's kind of the system. I love our system and where we're going with it. We got shooters, we got post guys, we got guys that can drive. Got a little bit of everything. And it's just, and that's why Coach Hafer's been, I think 2015, 16, he was ranked 21 in the nation, as far as offensive coaches, offensive minds. And, I'm watching it every day. It's just like, wow, this is crazy. This is amazing. So,
How many of those guys are ball handlers, like that you spread the floor with? Like, how many of your guys are creators? Or are they all like, do you have one creator and 3 shooters out there, or what do you have?
so how the offense is set up is like, okay, we obviously want to get the paint. We want to touch the paint. So 2 dribbles should get you in the paint. Now, once you get in there, these are the reads, right? So everybody is.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Now, and we coach that every single day.
Right.
We hammer it home.
It's interesting because we don't necessarily have like a breakdown offensive player.
Right.
Sue's not breaking anybody
No.
down.
She's
And,
ball
and, and
screen.
even Jewel, she's not really going to come down in and out, cross you up to go make a play. It comes natural for her, and it's, a lot of her stuff is based off of how we space off of pick and roll.
Right.
And so, I think a lot of the game is how many playmakers do you have on the floor, and they're able to dribble, pass, and shoot.
And so that's my thing.
Yeah.
Like after last year, after the year ended, I sat around, I was like, all I want are kids who can dribble and shoot.
Yeah.
I want them to be able to do both things.
Yeah.
Like if they can only do one or the other, it does us no good.
Right.
They got to be able to come off a ball screen. If you go under, I can knock that down.
Right.
Come off a ball screen. Okay, now you're chasing off me. Now I can make a play.
Right.
But I had too many guys last year, love them, who they were either shooters or they were ball handlers, and
Right.
that was it.
Right.
Nobody could do both.
Right.
And so anytime we're in a ball screen, like
Go
you
under.
can't go under. Okay, cool.
Right, right.
No problem. Like
Yeah.
you're defended. Move
Right.
on. Next action.
Right.
You got nothing.
Right.
And if it was a guy who couldn't shoot, okay, well, or a guy who could shoot, they're over the top of it, and hopefully he didn't turn it over
Right,
when he's going to the
couldn't hit.
basket.
Right.
It's just guys who can dribble and shoot, man.
Right. That's right. Right.
What about you, man? At the high school level, and how you feel like, are you guys going positionless out of day? Because you guys were.
Yeah. With the exception of, the big guy we got.
Oh yeah, but he has a lot of.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
real
yeah.
skilled also.
But
So
that, he
Like
didn't
the
do
third
a
best
lot.
player in Seattle right now.
Right. I was about to say,
He
college
crazy.
level, he'll be on that wing.
Last year, he wasn't doing a lot of that, but this year, we saw over the summer what he was doing. That's kind of knew where he was going to go because he had that ability as a guard, and now he's extending his game. So, I don't know. We'll see. We're 2 weeks away from seeing what we're going to be putting out there. But even at the high school level, it's getting to that point where games are getting a lot higher in scoring. I think we've hit 100 a couple of times the past couple of years.
Damn.
Even, with not great scorers, but we've done it. We like playing that faster pace. But I think that's just where the game is going in general, that everyone wants to push the ball, try and get out of transition. A lot of threes. As much as I'm so big on the defensive end of the floor, I hate that part of it, but seeing the offense, that's what everyone's coming to watch.
I know you come from a program where when you were playing that. I don't even think when we were in high school, we didn't even have the shot clock.
Nope.
Yeah, so
That was partially because of Lumpkin too.
Right.
He wouldn't let the
grind
shot
it
clock.
out. He
He
would
would not let that shot clock come
So
to
we
Washington.
were, games in high school were in
Him and
the 40s, 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
I think when you were playing too, you had games in the 40s and 50s. And,
Yeah.
And it's just like now you see, you check the box score or whatever on your phone, and it's like, 70s, 80s, 90s. I'm like,
Right. You remember the time where you could just put the ball right there and just
The second
Hold it.
game I ever recruited in the state of Washington, so I came from California, right?
Yeah.
And we had a shot clock then. It was 35 down in California. So I move up after 2 years coaching at Redlands. I come up here. My first game that I go to recruit for Eggers. It's Cleveland versus Nathan Hale, and there's a guy on each team I'm trying to watch, right? Traffic was terrible. I get there second quarter. Score is like 10-6 Cleveland. They stall the whole second quarter.
Yeah.
The whole quarter.
Yeah.
Just running this little thing, just pulling the ball out,
Yeah.
stalling the whole time.
Right.
I came back, I was like, I saw them play 3 possessions of basketball. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if those two guys are good.
Right.
I have no clue.
right.
We had an offense for stalling
Oh, yeah.
if we wanted to go to it in high school. Like crazy. Crazy.
Man,
It's just not fun.
No,
No,
it's
hell
not
no.
fun. It's not fun. There's still
Hell
states
no.
that don't have a shot clock in high
And
school.
you know what's not fun is in practicing it and guarding it. Oh my God. We
Do
were
the
running our
Surfers
stall
have shot
play for
clock?
5 minutes.
The what?
Like, does the EYBL, do they have a shot clock?
Some do.
Some do.
Not all of them.
Yeah. See, like, that's the thing, like, AAU is terrible.
Oh, man. They need to get,
Like, I mean, it's impossible. Like, how could you have a shot clock on every court that you're playing in an AAU tournament? But, like, you need to, because it's I mean, like, that's why Europeans are so good at basketball, because they put the shot clock, a 24-second shot clock, since they're, like, 8 years old.
8 years old, yes, exactly. Yep.
All right, well, there's a few more questions, and like I said, I appreciate you guys taking an hour or two out of your evening to kind of, talk about the game we love. So now, to the real nitty-gritty. I want to know the best player you guys went up against, and if you can remember, how did they do against you? Against you, coach. Not that you had to guard or anything like that in your playing career. Just think about it for a sec.
I started getting haunted as a player. I was like,
Yeah, I'll just start off, so while you guys take a second. 2011,
mine's easy.
2011, we were playing at the Wenatchee Valley crossover tournament, and there's a gentleman by the name of Mark McLaughlin, from based out of Seattle. He played at Tacoma at the time, and he was Player of the Year. In the South, or where are they? The West.
The West.
In the West, led
They
the
won it
annual.
that year, too.
Yeah, they won the whole thing. Led the league in scoring. 6'6", do it all, and physical, and shoot. He went, got UW, and then ended up at Central. But he was having like Gonzaga, West Virginia, and all these big time schools. And his game was just so smooth and fluid, and we couldn't stop him. And that was the year we were playing the system. I don't know if you guys remember the Loyola Marymount system, where we were just like kind of like what we were talking about then, but it was just nuts back and forth. The pace was crazy, and he gave us a good 30. I think it was 35 on about 14 shots.
Damn.
And we lost to them in overtime, but still, I was like, man, probably the best player I coached against in all these years. And best guy you've gone up against?
I'm glad.
Metro.
Yeah,
Right.
For real.
Garfield's whole
That's
roster?
right.
Well, the craziest one, I'd have to say, Michael Porter.
Yeah.
And this guy, like, seeing him live, like, just right there, like, it's like video game, like 2K. Like, everything he threw, he scored 52 on us.
Especially because his brother was right
And he
next
only
to him,
played
too.
3 quarters. Yeah,
Oh,
he only played 3 quarters.
yeah, he did.
Dropped
50, that's
52.
right.
Damn.
Now, the runner, that's probably the first time I've ever seen a running clock at our gym. But watching him live, it's just like, what the hell did he do? Like, this guy's hitting everything.
Yeah.
We're throwing everyone at him. A lot of his shots, maybe a good 90% of shots were contested. This dude was nailing.
Right.
He's getting clocked. He's getting up, and it's just like, this guy's, like, that's the one guy I could be like, man, that dude's a truth. Like, he was unreal to see him, that up close and personal.
Should have brought 7th grade Ventura out there to guard him or something like that.
Actually, you have an interesting one because you coached at the college ranks, and then you've coached top team FOH, so it's like
The best player for FOH that we played against was a dude. He's a freshman at Cal. I'm going to forget his name now. Just this big, buff lefty. He looks like a football player. He's like 6'3", 6'4". Played for Team Elite, which is Marvin Lee's team. Do you know Marvin Lee? Mm-hmm. Marvin Lee and I used to play AAU in high school. He was on my team in high school, like in 8th grade. And Marvin's wild.
It was like Matt or something like that.
Matt, it is Matt.
Yeah.
I know his
who you're
Twitter
talking
handle,
about.
but I don't think that does us any good right
He's
now.
a monster.
He's a monster. I mean, he is an absolute.
Looks like a grown man.
He's a grown man, and we didn't keep track of stats, but he easily had 30 on us in an AAU game, and just like anytime we made a run and got close to him, it was a step back or just a bully. I mean, it was physically a kid like that at an AAU game. It's just there's nothing like it.
He was talking mess too, I bet.
He was cool about it because he kind of respected the kid who was guarding him, even though he gave him a cool 30. But like he was working, he was working.
Yeah.
He was in front of him. He was there every time. He just got for 30. I mean, every shot was falling.
Yeah.
But down the stretch, he did because it got close. Like we pulled in within like 6 or 8.
Yeah.
About 3 minutes to go, and then he closed it out on us pretty quickly. I mean, that's just a grown man. The best guy, I guess, in community college was JT Terrell, but I don't think he was that good. Squires locked him up. We had our little defensive player of the year. We played him, so he He's a kid. He was like a top 40 recruit. Went to Wake Forest.
Right.
Damn.
Then
He has one of the craziest like high school mixtapes.
He does have a
you've
good
seen,
high school mixtape. He left after his freshman year, got into some trouble, ended up at Peninsula. Because like Peninsula was like the only school in the country that hadn't
You
started
know what
yet.
Peninsula is? How the did he end up there? I mean, he's a cool cat. So shout out to
They
JT.
got
but-
random guys that end
Yeah.
up there.
Oh, I'll be all the time. But
Was,
all
was
the
Mitch
time.
Freeman up there?
no, this is before Mitch.
Remember
This is
Mi-
Lance.
Money Make?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is Lance Von Vogt. He's at
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
William
yeah.
Jessup now, I
Yeah,
think.
he's at William Jessup.
He so JT was like you don't get a top 40 recruit in the NWAC, like that's ridiculous.
At Peninsula College,
Right.
in Peninsula, Washington.
Right.
hell of
Yeah,
a
Port
recruit, man.
Angeles.
Yeah.
Shit, for real. He got random. I remember we went up there and had a scrimmage. I was like, how you guys getting cats up here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so Squires, our guy, both games that we played against them, JT Terrell did not finish the game because he got thrown out both games. He got so frustrated with this kid because we had this kid who just locked up. Ended up being a D2 guy, but just was like physically, 6 foot, could get up under him. JT's like 6'3", really quick feet, really just like not an ounce of fat on his body, just ready to go, and loved to play defense. Like he didn't care about scoring at all. He got a D2 scholarship because he just wanted to lock you up.
Yeah.
And he absolutely locked him up. Like the kid was averaging like 25. He held him to 8 and like 11 or something like
Damn.
that. Got kicked out of both games. That frustrated him. But that's why it's hard for me to say he was the best guy because I watched
Right.
him. I watched somebody absolutely take him out of
Right.
the game.
Yeah. Right.
But he was good.
Yeah, I mean, I've coached against a lot of NBA dudes. I mean, from like Aaron Gordon to when we went to the tournament at Cal Poly, Wichita State was, we were in the first 4, and then we, played that second game against Wichita State, who absolutely demolished us. But like Clay Anthony Early was,
Early was tough.
I mean, he did some things where like early in the game he'll hit a 3, and he'll look at the bench like, this is all y'all got? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is all you gonna bring? Do you know who I am? Like, that's how he approached it. And then, we played against UCLA when they were ranked 11th in the country, and they had Shabazz Muhammad, they had Anderson, they had the Ware twins, they had Norman Powell. They had, NBA
Seven
dudes
dudes
across
went
the
to the
board,
league. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Crazy thing is we beat them, in Poly Pavilion, like the first game.
That's right.
That game was crazy, but it was like, you can tell these are NBA dudes.
Yeah.
We hit some shots at the end and just, worked out for us. So it's tough because there's a lot of NBA dudes that I went up against, so. But Aaron Gordon is definitely up there. He's just a monster, overall, just, defending. Like, he was the one guy I think really wanted to lock you up and dunk on you, both days.
Yeah, right. Damn.
And he did it.
Was that the best one you ever been a part of at UCLA?
Probably.
Fuck, that's
I mean,
that's a
Or getting
segue.
into
That's
the
a later
game and
that's a
get
later
into the
question.
Yeah,
We'll get to that later.
Getting into the tournament too
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
but UCLA, that was wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
You guys, the toughest person that I've ever gone against is Diana Taurasi.
I
Oh,
was gonna say, no brainer.
Yeah,
No
that's
brainer.
easy.
That's
Like,
she's
I went to one of those games, watched a lot. I'm like, she's like Kobe.
Man, there's like
shit that one in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That game in the playoffs, she led that comeback.
I don't know if you
That's the one I was at.
Oh yeah.
if you guys can attest to this, but somebody that every time they touch the ball, like there's fear that
Oh, yeah.
gets struck through your heart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's her.
Like you
because-
already lost because she caught the ball.
Yeah,
Like the
absolutely.
possession's over because she caught the ball.
Whatever defensive scheme you just talked about in the timeout, she's figured it out as she's bringing the ball up. She knows what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, incredible. Like, I've been giving my praises to Sue, but DT on a mental level is, if not above Sue, is right there with her.
Right.
That's why they're like best friends.
Yeah.
But DT's the type of person that she just, if you get up close to her, she'll rip, automatic foul.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She's that type of player. And then if a ref says something to her, she'll look at the ref, look away, and spit on the ground. And no ref has ever teed her up for doing it. That's some man.
No,
Damn.
That's some shit.
Yeah.
She'll look at the ref, say what she needs to say, and
she's
then
like
go
as
like
hard
this
as it
and
gets,
spit
bro.
on the
She
ground.
She is.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, yeah.
I absolutely love her.
Yo,
Absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
Seriously, I love my wife and everything, but I will marry her. From a hooper standpoint, I would get on the knee. Diana, you see me out there? I love you and everything that you got going on as far as a hooper. You are the one.
Man, she gave you a lot of love after the series was over. I seen that shaking hands. Yeah, I seen her
Yeah.
give you love.
Yeah, I was going to say, too, because, she's such a fierce competitor. So on the floor, after games, like, I saw her in the locker room, behind and everything like that. And, you see the real her, it hit her. She had tears in her eyes, but she came up and gave me a big-ass hug and said, if she was going to go out to any team, it was us, go win it now, da-da-da. So, on top of her being the type of competitor that she is, she's just a real person too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just like us, that shit hurt.
Yeah.
But she was she was a winner in losing. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah.
So then, from guys you went against to guys you coached, this question might be a little vague, but you guys have coached a lot of great talent over the years. Now, I won't say your favorite player because I know we all have players that we really are connected with, but they may not have been the best or whatever. But we'll just go like this. You guys are all guards. Player that you coached that had pretty much the highest basketball IQ that you could just. I mean, you was just. I already know your answer, but I mean, you talked about it a lot. But for the rest of us, it's like you guys that just stand out in your mind. It's just like, damn, that dude really knew the game of basketball, and he was really smart all around the court. I guess I'll just go first. So I'll give you guys a second to think. There's, one of my close friends and guy I mentor is a gentleman by the name of Avery Shear. He played for me 2011, 2012. We placed 7th that year, and we hadn't placed in the tourney. Shoreline hadn't for 10 years prior to that. And that guy knew every single play that we ran. He knew every position, knew where to be, and it's just a natural basketball player. And and he's young, he was brash, and he had just a little aura and swag to him that the opposing crowd got on him, but the fans loved him, and it was just. And now he's playing pro. He's overseas. He's been a staple in Thailand. Winning league MVP out there, winning a championship, finals MVP. Played with one of your guys out in Malaysia, Chris Eversley. Yeah, he played with him in Malaysia. And actually went out and watched one of his games too. It's a good friend of ours. So that guy is just probably the smartest dude I know. But you just see him, and it's not the biggest practice player, but it was just crazy how much he picked everything up, and he just knew it. And without practice, some days he would go in and play the 5 in our system, and shit, we just needed an extra body that day. So that just really just stood out to me. Doug, obviously it's self-explanatory for you.
Yeah, man, it's myself. No,
man, you were no slouch,
no,
you were no slouch back in the day.
I think, in the love of the game, they're talking about genius. There's no genius in basketball, you know what I'm saying? And at first I was like, what? How can you not be a genius in basketball? Yeah. But whatever the word is for hoop, that's what Brady is. Mm-hmm. And, she's 5 plays ahead always.
Right.
Offensively and defensively. But what makes her, I guess, stand out too is, she knows the history of both the men and the women's league. So she's talking about 1970s, 1960s, 1980s men's and women's basketball players. You know what I'm saying? That's just, add in all of her accomplishments and everything like that. It's been fun for me, coach alongside of her. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because that's what she is. She's an extension She makes my life a lot easier, you know. Game 3 of the finals, you know, she's texting me the offense chart that of all the adjustments we made, she's like, hey, did I miss anything? And spot on. You know what I mean? She, it's just, that's just who she is, you know, so.
Yeah. I mean, I've coached a lot of kids, you know. I say the one kid, he was a coach's son, Chris O'Brien. He was, so the year we beat UCLA, he was on that team, and the dude, literally, you talking about playing any position, knew everything. Those dudes are so easy to coach. You know what I mean? It's like you tell them one time, like, oh yeah, I get it, you know, and then they can coach everybody else.
Right.
You know what I mean? And talk to those guys. So that was he. I mean, he was just so far beyond, you know, as far as IQ on the basketball court. Just like he just knew what to do and knew how it was supposed to be ran. And you know, we'll do some in-game adjustments on the defensive end because, you know, we did a matchup zone. He was the best at it by far. We didn't have to tell him. He just knew. And when after he does it, he'll tell the guys, hey, I went down here because this is what they're trying to do. In the timeout, I'm like, oh, man, I don't need to coach you.
Right.
Do your thing, you know. So definitely Chris O'Brien.
So,
You know, first I'm going to say, you keep disrespecting me and Kirby and saying that 10 years passed since you guys went to the NWAC.
no,
We definitely made it.
Oh, that's my bad. I'm saying
Let him know.
But
Oh,
in his
9-10, and we hung a
defense,
banner.
in his defense, you guys didn't place at the NWAC tournament that
We
year.
did not.
You lost 2 games. I remember.
think
'cause
that's what-
I
That
talked
is
to
true.
I wasn't
Barry,
disrespecting
because
that.
we both had lost. You guys,
Yeah.
or after the
I remember
first
that.
night, we both lost.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Barry like under that old like the Toyota Center. He's like, "What do you?" He's like, "I never coached the next day." Because like the NWAC's the only league in the world where you play, or college league where you keep playing after you lose.
Yeah, you can lose and
which
then-
we don't anymore, thank God. But like back then,
it was
you had to
4
keep
and 4.
showing up and trying to play.
Yeah.
And he had never done it before. He's like, "What is
Right.
like? What do you guys say to these
So
guys?"
hard to do, right?
It's the weirdest thing.
So yeah, my fault. Those guys won a league championship. They hung a banner. All I was saying,
That was definitely
we placed 7th that year.
They kept
actually.
playing after they lost.
Right. We kept playing, and we actually.
Actually, what? I know exactly what happened to your team. I won't say the names, but I saw them in my hotel the night that you guys lost that first round game,
Oh, yeah.
hanging out with the Bellevue girls.
We
Oh,
had
you
that
don't know,
problem.
See, that's an assistant coach problem. Yeah.
I think it was me and him that had to go
Yeah.
pick him up.
Yeah, probably.
Putting out fires.
So
I think that's after the
it
second
all
game.
comes full
Oh, was it?
circle.
Okay.
It all comes full circle.
Yeah. The NWAC's a tight community.
Right.
man.
We are.
Right.
Lifers.
Yeah, but you know, it's when coming off that, I almost have to go back to that team and think that, and you coached him too. But Jesse Vaughn was a kid that was, you know, like he was, and I remember seeing him the year before when he came to the what was it, that
Showcase.
showcase
Yeah,
when
yeah.
we were running that shoreline, and just and he was a senior then, and just going at grown ass man, and so had no idea that he was just a senior, but we're like, man, we need this kid, especially that first year that we had at Shoreline where we had nobody.
Yeah, we went worse the first, by the way.
Yeah.
Worse the
No,
Yeah,
first.
they did. Yeah, they did. I
You guys
remember.
had what was his name? Who's the other assistant? Jordan.
How
Jordan Adams.
Had to play that year. Remember, he had to play a
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Or he had a dress.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, man, what?
Oh, this is some NWAC stuff.
Yeah.
But then the next year they came
No,
in,
about that.
and you guys went like 14-2 the next year, or 12-2,
Two
whatever
losses.
it was.
You lost to Bellevue,
Both
right?
lost to Bellevue, but
Yeah.
Bro.
This
No,
one
we
here
had-
was close.
it was.
But yeah, no, Jess was he was a monster, and I mean he just could do whatever he wanted. I just don't think anybody expected it. And
Yeah.
I think just that group alone.
That was a
just-
really good team.
Yeah.
Sean. Who else? Who are the guards on that team?
Alfie and Sean
Sean
West.
West.
Alfie and Sean
Alfie
West.
Miller.
Oh, I remember Alfie. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a team.
Yeah, we had some good pieces for sure.
But I also think someone that was underrated on our squad was Zach Nelson.
Oh, yeah.
Jesse's homie from Spokane.
Spokane.
Tough.
Didn't play a lot, but he had to go up against Sean West every day.
Yeah.
And then when he got into games, like he just knew what to do.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
he played spot minutes, but I just thought his IQ and his demeanor when he got on the floor was just, you know, we didn't lose anything when Sean came out.
Yeah.
even though he was only in for 2 to 3 minutes. Like, just to be able to take that and, he had an extremely high IQ. Wasn't, guard height. He was like 5'9", 5'10", nothing huge, but, I thought his IQ carried him extremely well in those games.
I think to piggyback on that, when you talk about like 5'9" guards and what they're supposed to bring, like I remember him specifically being just tough, and he just freaking competed every single possession.
Every game.
You know what I mean? It was like he brought that. Like you need to be a pest. At that height, and he was, and I just remember vividly like him. Like, man, guarding Sean Weston practice is tough, but he never stopped, he never quit, and it helped our team overall. It really did.
So, no disrespect to anybody. Glad we got that cleared away. And another thing was crazy was they lost 2 games that year to Bellevue, right? So when I started coaching, or when we made the tournament that year, my team for 7th place beat Brady's
we
team.
had to play each other.
We beat Brady's team in the
got
7th
8th
place
place.
game. So, yeah.
At 8 a.m.
Oh,
So
man.
that actually,
8 a.m. 7th place
oh
game.
my gosh, it was
Oh,
so bad.
shoot.
It
Why?
was so bad.
Like, why are you playing that game?
Right.
And me and Brady were talking after the game, like we were waiting for film, and we were just,
We could have been on the road the night before.
right, let's just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, right.
But it was dope.
In the yak,
getting
yeah.
7th, getting that picture taken,
Yeah.
being a part of history. But there's actually 2 more questions, I promise, then we're gonna be done. We'll try to make it fast. But this is just great stuff, and I'm really appreciative of you guys, again, taking time away to come talk about the coaching experience. So I gotta know, and I think I know your 2 answers, but best coaching experience. I mean, we can keep it short and sweet, and however you guys want to do it, but best coaching experience. And actually, we can start with you.
So I'm going to say that those 2 years at Shoreline, just because, we went from seeing like the exact, the worst and then the best. So that was kind of a cool ride going on that and experiencing that. And then I would have to say that first year at O'Day where we made it to the state championship and we just kind of ended up there.
I remember that year.
15, 16,
16?
we beat Beach to get in. And
Lost to
we lost to
remember that.
Beach in the finals. But I
Lost to
mean,
Beach,
that was a great experience my first year at that level, at the high school level was kind of cool. So, I would say those two definitely.
Coach?
Probably win a league with Shoreline that year. Yeah. That year we won league.
Remember when we found out when we won?
Yeah, we were watching our phones on the bench.
So we had
Game.
so we were playing a
Second score.
game. So it was a crazy situation. Real quick, we were playing a game versus Everett. Our best player had grade issues, so he couldn't play that day.
MVP of the league.
MVP of the league. He couldn't play just for that game, just because of a grade
Coach's
issue.
nightmare.
It was an AD. AD didn't want him to play, whatever.
Of course.
So
Told us the day
So,
off.
so we're sitting right here. Me and Brady are sitting right here. Brady's wife's in the stands. Alfie Miller's brother is behind our bench on my phone, watching the game because I think we need
Watching the
Peninsula.
Peninsula.
We need a Peninsula to lose.
And then our game didn't matter.
And then our game really didn't matter. So, we're playing our game. We end up losing the game by we're losing by 10, 12, and we find out with 2 or 3 minutes left that we won. So Brady's wife is telling us, give us a thumbs up, and she's going crazy. And then Alfie's brother's behind me, and he, we're
Game's going on
we're
right here. We're talking to
while the game's going on.
That is JUCO stuff right there.
While the
College
game's going on, so
coaching
so
and
he
finals.
He has my phone,
That's
and
awesome.
and I'm looking at the score, and I'm like, yep. So we're celebrating, and then Brady calls timeout.
The game's
and
not
then
even
he's
over.
like,
The
game's not over.
The game's not even over. Brady calls timeout. He's like, man, these guys, we just fucking won league.
That's awesome.
And we ended up losing the game, but we won league. We won league, so it was on our senior night or sophomore night. But that shit,
That's
That
funny
shit-
because that's how when we won, we were at Peninsula and we lost. and it was tight between us and Edmond or something. And I remember we lost, and we were trying to get to the ferry, and we went to get something to eat. And Estes was like, wait, I might have some good news. And then he's like, we just won the league. And I remember Sean Jones was in the back. He's like, man, but we lost. And Estes goes, doesn't matter how you won it, you won it. And he was pissed.
Right.
But he's like, they're not going to talk about that. So that was yeah.
Yeah, so that's like Kirk said, man, life of JUCO. Or not even JUCO. Remember, we're CC.
CC, my bad.
You guys don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
CC. So yeah, that shit was fun. Winning league was fun. Tourney, not so much, but hey, that moment of winning league, that was dope. I think for me, getting 7th, you know, that's dope. Accomplishing something Shoreline had done. Like, you guys won league, you know, but unfortunately didn't have the type of success you guys wanted. And then working those 2 years to get to where, you know, try to achieve the level of success you guys had, you know, whether it was 7th or, you know, whatever, being able to make it a place, and that was incredible. So those 2 moments stand out for me.
Let me go.
You're right. So yeah, you look.
So, I mean, obviously, you know, we talked about coaching is not an instant gratification thing, but again, I always want to go back to watching the guys grow up and moving on to do different things and play here, you know, playing overseas. And I think one of the coolest things was coaching a guy that went to the NBA.
Oh yeah.
You know, David Nwaba, who I mean, you talking about a fighter, he just clawed his way into the league. He went from trying out, like literally drove from LA to Reno to go try out, made the team, gets traded from the Sacramento organization to the Lakers, the Defenders, and just kills in the D League at the time. And I remember like watching a couple games, and it was early in the D League season, and I'm talking with the other coaches on the staff. I'm like, man, I think this dude, he might be able to get to the league. And, you know, and they're kind of looking at me. I'm like, no, listen, the game is spread out. He's quick, he's athletic, he can get to the hoop. He can't shoot it that well. But if he just takes the right shots, if he rebounds and he defends, he has a chance.
Yeah, you got a spot.
His field goal percentage was so high. He was averaging like 8 boards. He was locking up the coach for the defender. They were like, he's the best defender in our league right now, right? So, and then going to a game at, you know, Staples.
I remember seeing that.
And I'm like, I'm sitting 4 rows back. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I know this dude since a little, you know. He had no idea what college, you know, D1 was like. You know, we had to, I don't want to give everything away, you know, as far as him and how he grew, but he had to grow up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Wasn't he at a D2 first?
So he started at
Hawaii Pacific, because he played with Sean.
Yeah.
I think that was
Sean
his roommate.
Jones.
Yeah, he played with Sean Jones. That was his roommate.
Sean Jones, who we coached at Shoreline.
Right.
Small.
Yeah.
It's small.
That's crazy.
And then left there, went JUCO, Santa Monica, and then we picked him up from JUCO. So he had 3 years left with us. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and then his first year, we go to the tournament, 2014. Mm-hmm. And again, that's another accomplishment that, I mean, the feeling that you get from that is just, it's hard to explain. Yeah.
All right, so I guess let's just hear it.
When I started my AAU kind of coaching, I coached for A+. I had the kids that tried out for Friends of Hoop, that tried out for Rotary. I mean, they weren't going to come close to making those teams, you know what I'm saying? So I had like the misfits, the little brother, you know what I'm saying? Like A+ was like the little brother team. But one of my greatest moments, and they'd never been coached at all. So I'm telling them stuff, and they're looking at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, I'm just rebound, just box out, rebound. That's what I'm talking about. That's what it is, rebound. You know, you know. But I remember we had a game at Rainier Vista Boys and Girls Club against Rotary. You know what I'm saying? And I could tell like the kids were like, they wanted to win. They clearly didn't know how to win, but they didn't expect to win. You know what I'm saying? And we ended up beating this team, and this is just a regular, like, spring league game. It's not even in a tournament, right? And we ended up winning. I was doing like substitutions at the end where like 2 guys come in for defense, 2 guys come in for offense. The black kids were coming in on defense, white kids were coming in on offense. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of shit. And you know, like you could tell like these kids had never been coached. And I look over at Daryl, and Daryl, you know, I don't know if he still like this, but when he like is kind of in an intense moment, he'd be like, you know, we're doing this all the time. And I was like, oh shit. I think we got him. You know what I'm saying? And so we ended up winning that game. And like you were saying, like the fulfillment and seeing the excitement on those right then that day, those kids learned that they could be winners, and a lot of those kids had never been winners in their lives. You know what I'm saying? So that was a big moment for me. And then throughout my AAU career, to be honest with you, was every game that we went against each other.
Yeah.
Like
They were fun.
yeah, like we were doing like some high-level rotation offense shit. Like we would call a timeout. I'd see him do something. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, here's timeout. It wouldn't even be like, you know, we didn't really need a timeout, but I just needed to make an adjustment for the team because I was really going against Brady the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Like the guys weren't playing. Brady and I were going.
We were just coaching.
And it was hella fun. I was like, man, you know, that was where.
By far the best AAU games.
Oh yeah.
Because most AAU games don't get a coach. It's just like
right.
There's nothing going on.
Right.
Like there's just not much going on.
Man, it was great.
Those
man.
are fun.
Those were great times. But obviously, like the one that is at the very top is this last year winning the championship, man. And you know, I started off as a practice player with the Storm while I was interning. I got an internship. I'd be coaching here, I'd be working nights and stuff like that. You know, spent the first 5 years with the Storm for free. You know, 2 years internship for free, and then got that break, you know what I'm saying? So like 4th year, and we were in a rebuild, you know. We ended up getting the #1 draft pick with Jewel, and then, you know, the rebuild started, and we were kind of expected to win, but we didn't, and then we ended up getting Stewie. Game changer when she came. And so when we got her, though, it was still like, okay, we're still in rebuild. And then a year later, this year, we ended up winning the championship. And so to be a part of a rebuild like that, in my personal process, I mean, going from here and grinding and working and all those tireless nights and everything like that to winning that championship, it's the most surreal feeling ever. The parade, you know, going into the arena after the parade and looking up and seeing like the Key Arena, like basically one side just sold out to celebrate us. I mean, that shit is surreal, being on the trolley, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Crazy, you know, but I was telling Curve before we got out here, it was, for me, the high and the excitement of actually winning that championship lasted like 30 minutes. I was like, yeah, holy shit, we're a champion. Oh, that's cool. I want to do it again. You know what I'm saying? And so where I'm at in my processing now is, you know, we always learn a lot from like when we like lose. It's like, well, you know, these losses, dog, you know, like we can learn something from this. But now it's like, okay, I have to learn from winning. And how can you take that winning up to that next level to sustain being a champion? So how do you sustain that? How am I going to motivate Birdie to want to do it again next year? How can I motivate Stewie to be the MVP again? You know what I'm saying? So what can we learn from this winning?
Right. That's what I've been saying.
Like,
I'm happy where I'm at Bellevue. You can't do much better at the level that, you know, in the NWAC in terms of the school, the situation. But I like to get to the 4-year level.
So realistically, ladies and gentlemen, Coach Brady is being, you know, that's the politically correct answer. Knowing him how I know him, he's fucking full of shit right now in this answer. Anyways, back to it.
He knows I can lie though, so he's got that.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
wanted
man.
to get
Somebody hire me.
right.
Good job. Come on, Kirby. I really am happy here. It's nice. I'm 10 minutes away from home. But no, I mean, like you know, like insane. It's like that next level. Like we're competitors. We're coaching because we're competitors. Because right now, like I said, like I couldn't be happier in terms of who I work with, where I work, and all that.
except I'm not on your staff.
Except for you're not on my staff anymore.
That's
My
a
staff's
negative.
not the same.
So I would love to eventually be a head coach or whatnot, but you know, I'm fortunate because this organization has remained so loyal to me, and we've had 3 head coaching changes. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, at the pro level, you get head coaching changes, it's like gone. I'm remaining loyal to the town.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My family's here. This is where I'm from. I'm Seattle till I die. So, you know, it would have to be here. I would love to potentially be a head coach here, but you know, as you get into the pro level, then you start looking on like front office side, and you looking at how this whole team really runs from that level.
Right.
So I could see a transition there. You know, we're unique, like where, you know, our women go overseas and go play 2 more seasons in the off season. So, you know, I would love to maybe start an internship on the front office side in the off season and see what happens there, where I can start learning the ropes and stuff.
For me, it's just to be a head coach, and it all comes down to you know, it doesn't matter at the end of the day what level you're at. Like for me, I think it's all about having your own program and doing the things the way you want to do it. You know, we don't do this for the money. I mean, you intern, CC level, you know, CC high school. It's, you know, my first year, like literally, I was making $700, you know, to coach. I had another job, you know, to pay for other bills, but it was. You don't do it for the money. If you do it for the love of the game, for the players, you know, and just be around that team camaraderie, you know. So just
Competition.
Competition, no doubt. You know that will never go away. And I'm getting a ton of experience, you know, being assistant under, you know, these different head coaches, and what I'm doing right now, I'm just building a lot of things in my mind, like, okay, this is how I would do it. I love the way he's doing it right. I'm definitely gonna steal that, you know what I mean? And I'm just putting it all together right now. And when that day comes, man, I'm definitely not gonna, you know, take it for granted. So
I'm done coaching college. I hung it up after last year. You know, it was tough. I love coaching under Coach Brady and with the staff, but it's time, you know, I had to make a decision in my family. You know, and that's hard because, you know, me and Coach are really tight, and guys on the staff are really close, but it's just it's time for me to move forward. But I think my last thing with coaching is my son's a middle schooler this year. He's 6th grade. So I think I'm going to coach his team. And then if he never wants to play basketball again, I will be okay. And I could die, you know, I can go for the rest of my life saying, I'm coaching my son. And that's like a bucket list as a parent for me, because I don't force, you know, basketball or sports on him. I'm not that type of parent. But I think that's the biggest thing for me, wanting to coach him and provide that for him just one time. If I was to still coach, I would stay at the CC level. My biggest thing is moving players on and establishing a rapport with coaches at the next level. So that would have been my thing. I would have stayed and, you know, continue to progress and move players on to the next level, because being that liaison, as you CC guys know, is like, it's hard because sometimes the coaches are so caught up with everything else that they don't have time to help place their guys, and or some coaches are just they just don't do it. And I've ran into so many guys hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or whatever. You know, just to end all of this. You know, I've known you guys for years and years, and I've seen you guys all grow. You know, I've known you since you were a kid. You know, I've known you since high school and in the coaching ranks. You know, just to see how you guys have evolved as coaches and where you guys started and now where you guys are, and I know where you guys are going. You know, for me as like a friend, a colleague, or whatever, it's dope. And just, I know you guys are gonna, that's why I ended with the hopes and dreams and the goals, because I know that's where you guys are going to go. And sometimes it'll take hard work or something, it'll take luck, but you know, just keep doing what you guys are doing, and you guys will get there. You know, you guys will all be successful. So, just gonna wrap it up today. I want to thank Coach Tone from O'Day, Coach Brady from FOH and Bellevue College, Coach Webb from the Seattle Storm, and Coach Kirby from Seattle University for coming on BTST YouTube page. Come subscribe, subscribe to us. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. God bless.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Yeah. All right.